As you know, there appears to be a battle going on for kind of boardroom control of the country's largest independent media organisation, NZME, New Zealand Media and Entertainment. It is a large entity that controls half our radio stations, including our most successful commercial broadcaster, News Talk, or Snooze Talk as I like to call it, ZB. Our largest, and some would say now best known newspaper, the New Zealand Herald, and a massive real estate marketing called One Roof, which is going from strength to strength. But it is most certainly the biggest independent media player in the country. And it would appear that a group of shareholders, led by a guy called Jim Grennan, who has taken, I think, a 9% stake in the company, want change at the Herald, which made an operating loss after some shenanigans of $16 million last year. And Jim Grennan, who is Canadian-born but domiciled in Takapuna Beach in Auckland, has got together with some other existing shareholders and said, we want to clean the board out and have a change of direction. That seems to be the message. There is an annual general meeting on the 29th where the proposals, which have been notified by this group of investors, of shareholders, are going to take place. But it seems as if the board is fighting back against the proposal and fighting for their jobs. Well, what is happening here? What is the law around this? And what should anyone else who owns shares in NZME be doing or be thinking about all this? To try and find out more about this, we're joined now from an organisation called the Shareholders Association, which is a private organisation that promotes education and promotes good investing for shareholders. Their chief executive is Oliver Mander, and he joins us by video link now. Oliver, I take it you can hear me and we can certainly see you. All we've got to establish is that you can talk to us.
That's fantastic, Sean. Good morning. I hope things are going well.
Brilliant. Okay, Oliver, I first just want to establish, does the Shareholders Association have members who are shareholders in NZME?
Look, we absolutely do. And we've heard quite a lot from those shareholders and those members over the past couple of weeks. So look, we'll be going through our usual process in terms of looking at the proposals that we made, looking at the information around that, and then indicating we operate a proxy service where we hold proxy shares on behalf of shareholders and members, and anyone can participate in that proxy service.
Okay. Have you spoken to any of the current directors or had communication with any of the current directors of NZME?
Look, like everyone else, we're waiting for more information. There is more information that we would expect from the company in relation to these proposals. We have reached out to Jim Grennan. We have, and we're looking forward to a conversation there at one point. We've also reached out to the current board, and as we get more information, we hope to have conversations.
So, who are the shareholders that you're talking to?
Players. Yeah, so at the moment, there's as you've said in your intro, there's a couple of shareholder groups. There are two shareholder groups that have nominated proposals. One is Osmium Partners, and they own about 6.5% of NZME.
Yeah.
And they were a former larger shareholder. They've sold down over the last few years.
Yeah.
And then you have the group that is represented by JTG or Jim Grennan, and I think he's got about 9.5%.
Are they a group? Are they officially a group?
Well, that's one of the questions actually that we've got. Certainly there's implications for small shareholders if those 2 or 3 or 4 big investors are acting together. And look, our main concern...
Well, hang on. Just why would that be an issue?
Yep. So our main concern through this whole process is that the nominated directors align with the interests of all shareholders and that they're qualified to do their job. So but when I say all shareholders, the last thing that we would want to see is a group of 4 big shareholders who 37% of the company, who then actually start representing their interests rather than representing.
Are they not allowed to represent their interests, those people?
or any director of a company has to act in the best interests of the company. And that's a really important point. And actually, for a small shareholder, independence is really important. So we want to make sure that the directors that have been nominated, that they act independently and act in the interests of shareholders as well. All shareholders.
Okay, but if they have the votes to get rid of the current directors,
Yep.
then the maths tells you that they're acting in the interest of most of the shareholders.
And that's the beautiful thing about shareholder democracy, Sean. So absolutely right.
So have you got any information? And Osmium, I understand, are not against the proposals that Mr. Grennan seems to be pushing.
Again, we just need to see more information.
Have they told you? Well, you said have you talked to Osmium?
We haven't talked to anyone yet. You
just told me that you had talked to some shareholders, though.
We're waiting. We've heard from our members and small shareholders of NZME. We haven't talked to any of the groups involved in the proposal as yet. We will reach out to them. We have reached out to them.
And what have the small shareholders, what have they said to you, and who are they?
Yep. So there's a variety of views, as you'd expect. Just like any democracy, there are views on all sides of a debate. So it's certainly fair. The only thing that we can really observe at this point is that is the proposal is certainly polarised shareholders.
Well, no, hang on. Has it polarised shareholders? How many of the shareholders that you've spoken to say they are polarised?
So, sorry. I've spoken to some shareholders who do definitely support the proposals made by Jim Grennan.
Yeah.
There are other shareholders who clearly do not.
Who are they? Because I haven't seen anyone publicly that hasn't.
No, and they're all small shareholders. I mean, they're not big shareholders, or the ones that have been quoted in the media.
Can you tell me who some of those small shareholders are?
Well, I can't, because that's a privacy issue around that.
Okay, so a tiny number of small shareholders say they're polarised, but they won't say it publicly. If only a small number of people feel strongly about something and the majority of shareholders are in agreement with Jim Grennan, that isn't by definition a polarisation, is it?
If there are different views around that really will come down to the shareholder vote that will occur on April the 29th.
And my understanding is, and I think everything we've seen is that shareholder vote is going to be in favour of Mr. Grennan's proposal, isn't it?
He certainly does seem to have the support of a lot of people right now. Whether that translates to a majority on the vote, we just need to wait for the vote.
Okay, well, okay. So let's see what the vote is. And they're the direction of the company and the interests of the company. And the directors are obviously, their prime thing is to act in the interest of the shareholders, right?
The director's prime responsibility is to act in the best interests of the company.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not, actually. I'm pretty sure that directors are appointed by the shareholders, and they're their bosses. And the shareholders own the company, and therefore you act in the interest of the company as represented by its ownership being the shareholders. So the company is the shareholders because they own it.
Sean, the Companies Act is really clear on this.
What is it?
It does state very clearly that the duty of the directors is to act in the best interests of the company. Now, in most cases, you'd expect that to align with the interests of shareholders. But of course, shareholder views are very different. And that's why the Companies Act specifies, or can be very different. And that's why the Companies Act specifies that acts in the best interests of the company. It is a common misconception. So look, that's why our key concern is simply to make sure that whoever gets selected, whoever is put forward, that they are independent, that they're qualified, and that they can act in the best interests of the company and all shareholders.
But the company clearly needs a change of direction. Lost 16 million last year. Public trust in news media, and it is a news media company, has plummeted to like mid-20s, mid to high 20%. And certainly NZME is perceived as one of those large media organisations that has lost public trust at a matter of lots. The current director of the chairman of the company, Barbara Chapman, is strongly identified with bias in news media and woke concepts of DEI, which seem to be turning public trust off organisations like the Herald. So surely Jim Grennan's rationale for a change is one that would be in the best interest of the company.
And that's the key information that we want to understand. We do want to understand the narrative.